Moving beyond addictions. When we talk about addictions, this includes physical addictions, such as being addicted to drinking alcohol, cigarettes or other drugs and substances, sugar, takeaway food, etc. But it also includes emotional and chemical addictions, such as an addiction to social media, porn, TV, an addiction to guilt, sadness, being a victim, anger or frustration, to name a few. There are two important things to talk about with regard to addictions. 1, consciousness, and 2, being. First, let's talk about consciousness or self-awareness. A wise soul once said that underneath all addictions are feelings of shame or guilt. I believe that underneath those feelings of shame and guilt is lack and limitation. This is also true for emotional addictions. What a lot of people don't realise is that there is always an emotion that drives your behaviour. Stop and ask yourself, what were you just thinking about or feeling that has led to the desire for this addiction? If we go deep within, we will often find that we had been thinking about something that caused us to feel an emotion of lack or limitation. For instance, you are trying to stop your addiction to sugar, but you miraculously find yourself standing in the kitchen in front of the pantry, knowing you shouldn't have the donut, but it is there and you really want it, and so you eat it. If you have a degree of consciousness, you will recognise the moments that you are choosing to continue the addiction. In this example, there is a moment where you are aware that you are about to pick up and eat the donut, pick up another cigarette or drink, or dive into your familiar feelings of anger or frustration. But the reason that you continue with the habit is because you haven't faced the feelings that are motivating the addiction. You need to catch yourself in that brief moment of awareness before your hand reaches for the addiction or your mind starts to cycle in negative thinking. Stop and ask yourself, what was I thinking or feeling before I got to this moment? Expand your awareness and you will find there was some lacking or limiting thoughts or feelings. For instance, you notice that in the milliseconds before you had the craving for sugar, you may have had a thought of being alone, which produced a feeling of not being good enough, and your reaction to those emotions is to smother them in sugar. Of course, you wish to feel better. The top-level emotions will differ for everyone, but deep down, they will all come back to a feeling of lack or limitation. In another example, you are suddenly conscious of your craving for alcohol, and you notice that moments before this you thought about not achieving what you wanted. You had a deep underlying feeling of guilt or shame, and you want to drown that pain with alcohol. Another example, you say sorry 24,000 times a day, addicted to the chemicals your bodies produce when you feel guilt, because it has been one of the most predominant ways you have felt your whole life. So you become aware in the moment. You think back to what you were feeling before that guilt kicked in, and you notice that you had a thought about how you always do the wrong thing. That leads to feelings of judgment and criticism, like you're not worthy or good enough. This then leads to the spiraling chemical punishment that guilt gives. So recognize that there are thoughts and feelings that are in play before the action of the habitual behaviour. If you can resolve those underlying thoughts and feelings by facing them, standing firm in front of them and saying, what must I believe is true to think and feel this way about myself? You will soon realise that they are all lies. And the real truth is that you are wonderful and whole and full of love and joy, and you will not need these things to make you feel better. This is where number 2, being comes into place. When we are talking about addictions, one of the most important questions you could ever ask yourself is, who am I being now? Often our minds swirl and tumble in circles trying to understand our purpose and what we are meant to be doing in life, completely forgetting about the real reason why we are here. I will tell you now, it is not about what we do, but who we become. When you ask yourself, who am I being today, or who do I want to become, it takes your mind right out of the place of thinking and analysing to a sacred space in your heart where you can feel or better understand your reason for being. We all have a choice. We can think, feel, and behave in ways that are in alignment with our being, or we can continue to stay in that place of lack and limitation and feel split when our thoughts, feelings, and behaviours are fighting each other. How you act in the world will be a direct reflection of who you think you are being. If you strongly associate with external forces to define your reality and your identity, then you will forever be controlled by those external things. For instance, if you think that who you are is someone that drinks alcohol every day, that is what you've always done, and you think that is just who you are, then it makes changing that behaviour impossible. When you truly understand that the addiction or behaviour of drinking alcohol is simply a habit and is motivated by underlying feelings, but it is not who you are, you give yourself the opportunity to separate who you are being from what you are doing. Then from that place you can make new choices, ones that are aligned with who you wish to be. Decide who you wish to be. What do you really want to be in every moment? This in turn gives you the opportunity and the strength to say no to the things that are not in alignment with who you want to be. It helps you to find self-discipline because you have decided who you want to be. You can think about how proud you are to be free from that addiction, how you love yourself, and so you will choose to be your magnificent self in this moment and not need something external to make you feel better because you already feel good. You can have faith in yourself and the higher wisdom of the universe to help you overcome and be present in this moment. Choose to be self-realized, to have God consciousness, and be aware of your infinite and unbounded nature. Choose to be love, an expression of joy in the world. When we take on these ways of being, you can move from a place of lack and limitation into a state of the unlimited. Choose to go deeper into that emotion or thought and discover where it came from, what is underneath. Decide to face it, to get to the core of the thought or feeling, and then by understanding how it has developed, you can allow it to dissipate. Then make a new choice to align with who you want to be. You must know that you are magnificent, that you have been created as a reflection of the divine, that you are unlimited, open to possibilities, and you are enough right now.